I'm dedicating this bullet journal theme to everyone who ever took a ballet class when they were a little kid. Whether you loved it or loathed it, whether it stuck with you or you only ever did one class, ballet is part of you now, and you and I have that in common. And this floral Swan Lake inspired theme is how we're going to celebrate that. Hi, I'm Erin, and I did classical ballet for 9 years as a kid, and I still can't stop pointing my toes. Big thanks to the folks at Tiefossi for supplying the notebook I've used for this mystery journal, for sponsoring this video, and for sponsoring the giveaway we're running together on this video too. Tiefossi have become my go-to journal brand, particularly for larger format notebooks like squares and B5s. Their range of journal sizes, cover designs, and colorways is huge. Their notebooks are built to last, and their collections are so whimsical and varied, there's really something to suit everyone's taste. I'm so excited to be teaming up with Tiefossi for a little March giveaway. 3 lucky winners will get to choose their favorite notebook from the entire Tiefossi range. To enter the giveaway, you'll need to be subscribed to both my channel and Tiefossi's YouTube channel, following Tiefossi on Instagram, and you'll need to leave a comment on this video telling me what purpose you'd use your lovely new notebook for. This giveaway is open internationally, and the winners will be drawn on March 22nd, 2026. Winners will be announced on my posts tab, and I'll also be responding to the winners' comments on this video, so please make sure to check your YouTube comment responses if you enter. To give you a little idea of what your prize could be, here's a look at some of my favorites from my current journal lineup. This is the B5 Leaf and Texture notebook, which is my 2026 reading journal. I'm using the Lavender Square for my memory keeping adventures, and I've got this A5 Moon's Power journal in reserve to take over from my research and development journal when I finish that one up. They've also just released their Sakura and Cat notebook in A5, and the gold vintage now comes in this lovely emerald green. How gorgeous! Of course, they've all got crisp 160 GSM paper, ribbon bookmarks, page numbers, a pen loop, and a back pocket. And if you don't end up winning the giveaway but you still want a Tiefossi journal in your life, they offer free shipping to 34 countries on orders over $39 US, and you can use my code Erin Smith at checkout to save 10%. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, and big thanks again to Tiefossi for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into our notebook here. We're going to start with a cover spread for April, and everything I'm using in this video as far as stickers and washi tapes and ephemera are all from Paper Monogatari from their Swan Lake collection. Unfortunately, you can't get this right now. Anna from Paper Monogatari is on maternity leave. She expects she's going to be back sometime in late spring or maybe summer. I would recommend keeping an eye on her social media if you want to know exactly when everything's back on board for Paper Monogatari, but for now, I'm so sorry, let me taunt you with some stationery for the next 30 minutes or so. The wonderful thing about using all of the elements from the same collection like this big kind of set of stationery, is that everything already looks fantastic together because it was literally designed that way, so you can't really go wrong when you're using everything from the same set. And the Paper Monogatari collections, when you get all of the sticker sheets, also include some functional stickers, some that are like month names for the season that they're released in and that kind of thing. So I'm going to be using some of those in this setup too, which is why I thought I'd set out and just go with some middle of page collages to get me started. If I'm going to be lettering my own heading directly on the page, I can't really do this, but because you can move stickers around a little bit, they're a bit more forgiving, I thought I'd just play and have some fun and see what happened. So we've got 2 kind of similarly sized collages, or they're going to be, and then I'm just going to pop this clear April sticker right over the top. I'm going to change my mind about placement for this cover spread a lot, so please just bear with me while I shift things and change things and peel them back up. Thank goodness for sticker tweezers. It would be much harder to do that without them. I really do recommend a sticker tweezer if you're indecisive like me. And sometimes having 2 separate collages on facing pages for a cover spread like this feels a little disjointed to me, so I'm using this beautiful cloud washi tape as a full strip all the way across the top and bottom, kind of like a border without sides. That's just going to connect the 2 pages together and make them feel like they have one purpose. This cover spread looks finished, right? But It's actually not. We're going to come back to it later. For now, let's turn the page and move on to the first of our functional spreads. This one is a calendar spread, and rather than just drawing my lines straight up into solid lines, I'm using this kind of dotted system instead. So rather than just drawing the line all the way from the top to the bottom against my ruler, I'm lifting up my pen and popping it down in this kind of dot and dash pattern, sort of like Morse code, I guess, except I'm not trying to spell anything here. I'm just trying to make soft, gentle lines instead of something that looks a little bit more bold and crisp. Fair warning, this method takes a lot longer than just drawing a line, a solid line, but I think the end result is worth it. Each of the boxes for this calendar are 4 dot grid spaces tall by 4 dot grid spaces wide, but I've added an extra row above each of the weeks, so I have a space to put the number for each day. So Wednesday the 1st, Thursday the 2nd, so on and so forth. The 1 and the 2 will go in that extra row above. I've scoured through my marker collection and picked out 3 that are a good match to the sticker set and the washi tapes that I'm using. This pink one is the 800. It's a very, very pale baby pink, and I feel like it needs 2 goes to get the color to show up. This is the 491 blue, and that's kind of the same deal, but mine's a bit older, so it could just be starting to run out. And then I have the N89, which is a lovely soft gray, and this is Peaches. She's a little ballerina too. She had to come and help. Just in case you're new to my channel and you're thinking, what is this whole mystery journal thing all about? The notebook you're watching me work on right now was actually not for me. This was a journal that I set up for 6 months of the year, the first half of 2026, and then I gave it away on my channel back in November. So while you're watching this, potentially if you're watching it just after the video came out in early March of 2026, I actually set this theme up along with all of the others in this journal back at the end of last year, so I've just been hanging on to the footage, waiting for it to become relevant so I can share this with you. I'm jumping in with my letter stamps to add the initial for each day of the month above each corresponding column for the calendar, and I'm just colouring in the surface of my stamp with my grey Tombow. It's my favourite way to get a really nice clean stamp without having to buy a bunch of stamp ink pads. And I love that it's really nice and soft, but also a perfect match for the other colours in the theme because I've already used that marker on this page. So why make a journal for some random person and why call it the mystery journal? The mystery part of the name comes from the fact that the winner of the journal doesn't know what's in it except for the first 1 or maybe 2 themes inside. And at the time I'm setting it up, I don't know who the winner will be, so that is a mystery to me. It started out as a way to challenge myself to set up a journal that could be universally usable by anyone, especially since I'm self-employed and what I do in my own journal isn't always super applicable to a lot of people. But it also has the added benefit of helping me get through some more of my stationery collection because I have a lot of stationery, more than one girly could use. So I get to move some more items out of my stash, I get to showcase some more items for you on the channel, and I can give you another little element of inspiration every month in case the stuff I do in my own journal doesn't quite resonate with you. This particular journal is entirely floral themed, so every setup before this one and after this one until we get to the end of June is always somehow floral themed. And if you're someone who loves spoilers, I do already know what the theme is going to be for the next one, and I have recruited my wonderful channel members on a live stream recently. We went through and planned out the themes for all of the setups in the next mystery journal. So if you are a channel member on the Page Majors or the Jubilant Journals levels, you can check out the replay of that live stream if you like spoilers. You won't know exactly what the journal's going to look like, but you might have a little bit of an idea, a couple of little teasers, if you will. The calendar spread has reached that point where it's decorated enough and it's also still very functional, so let's move on before I take it too far. This next spread is a little kind of self-check-in for each month. You can use it at the beginning, you can use it throughout, you can use it at the end. Goodness me, those second line highlights are so pale on the page. I know you can only just see them, but I promise in real life they are much more visible than they appear here. On the left side, we're going to have 2 separate purposes. The top one is going to be for setting some goals for the month. The bottom one is going to be for reflecting on the month at the end. You can look back on things like what you were really proud of, If there was anything you were working on, if you improved at it, or if you think you need to change tack, anything that you want to do better than the previous month, you can make some little notes about it in the reflection section. And on the right page is a gratitude log space. So this one is just a little bit of a one line a day, particularly focusing on finding a few words about something to be grateful for every day. It's a way to kind of reframe your headspace into looking for good things, and that generally just uplifts your whole mood. So it's a good thing to practice. I have 3 fail-safe journal layouts for decorating that I always fall back to if I particularly don't know what I want to do with a page, and I'm going to be using one of them on this spread. I call it my columns layout, so all of the planning happens in the middle of the spread, and then I have a column of decoration on the left side and on the right side. Usually I have it all the way against the edge of the page, but I thought it would be interesting, particularly since these PET stickers from this tape roll are a little bit transparent, to leave a bit of space on the outside so I can layer these and still have some of their edges peek over. I thought that would help them look a little bit more visible. If you're curious about what my other 2 go-to layouts are, I have a video about those that you can check out here. It's also linked in the description. Onward to our next spread, and we're going to start with a single page for a single purpose first of all. This left side is going to be a habit tracker, and one of my favorite ways to set up a habit tracker is just to draw out 6 tiny little calendars. Each calendar will represent a different habit. I always like to go through and pencil out my layouts before I commit to adding pen to any pages, so I'm just erasing the pencil lines here from the areas I wanted these blue lines to go, because sometimes it can be really tricky to get the pencil out from underneath the marker. You can still see it through, it doesn't erase from underneath as well, so I like to erase first and then add the marker over the top. The blue line is where the winner of the journal will add the title for each of their habits. The pink line was where I've added the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday initial, and underneath that is where the calendar is going to go, and it's just the exact same thing every time because it's just the same April calendar. And I think I really favor this kind of setup because it's really easy to use. You don't have to have color coordinated pens handy to fill this out. You can just use your fine liner to circle the days that you do the habit, or put a cross through them, or cross hatch them out. But if you want to stay with the theme of the journal, you can use the same markers that you've used to set up just to color those spaces in as well. There's actually a habit sticker included in this set from Paper Monogatari, so I thought, I've got it, I might as well use it. I'm popping it on the top of this page, and then we'll just gently decorate in the spaces left over. Switching over to the right page now, this one is still a tracker, but it's a different kind of tracker. So this one, instead of being about habits, is about spending money. This is something I still do for myself in a separate journal. I have a whole separate money journal. But back at the beginning of this journal, there was a cash flow spread, 2 actually, where the winner of the journal can track things like their savings as they grow, where their money's going when they spend it. If they have debt, they can use it to track that kind of thing as well. And this spending log actually ties back into that cash flow tracker way back at the start of this notebook. I think different people like to track their spending differently, and that is so fair. I like to write down everything I spend. Some people prefer to just do the bigger purchases in a spending tracker. I'm hoping this page could accommodate both. So it looks like one table, it's actually 2, they're just right next to each other. Each of the columns is for item, so the thing that you bought, category, so you can categorize it into whatever kind of system makes sense to you, whether it's a category for bills and for groceries and for car expenses, whatever it is. And then of course there's the cost cost category where you write down how much the thing spent. Then I've got a little area at the bottom of the page that's highlighted in pink. You can go through at the end of the month and tally everything up by category, and then compare that back to the budget tracker that's back at the beginning of the notebook, and check on your spending, see if you're coming in over, under, right on budget. It's a really good way to make sure that you know exactly where your money's going. And it's all set up now, so we can turn the page and move on to one that's a lot more freeform. This one's going to be a memory keeping spread. I used to keep these in between the pages of my own monthly setups in my own journals, and I had such a good time doing it, I thought it would be a great idea to expand it into the mystery journal. In my own practice, I've expanded it into a separate journal entirely, but there's definitely something to be said about the all-in-one notebook. There's something very cohesive about it, so I thought it would be cool to approach it that way for the mystery journal. And there are so many different ways that people might want to record their memories. Maybe it's a long form kind of reflective writing about the month. Maybe you add in little dot points or short paragraphs about things that happen. Maybe you just go full junk journal on it and you stick in receipts and tickets and tags and packaging. Maybe you add photos in here from an instant camera or that you print out at home. Or maybe this journal ended up with someone very creative and maybe they're painting or drawing their memories. I have no idea. For that reason, I have left it very open-ended for this one, just a slightly different decoration here actually. This one is also one of my cheat sheet ones. This one I call the letterbox with the decoration at the top and bottom, but lots of white space so they can adapt this layout however they want. I'm taking a very similar approach to my next spread because this one also is going to be very freeform and open. This one is literally a spare spread. I didn't want to leave the winner of this journal without space to expand on the pages I've already given them because I can't possibly know all of their needs without knowing who they are, and I like the mystery element of this journal, so this way I'm just building in some flexibility, adding a little bit of decoration at the top right and the bottom left, lots of white space left over so they can use this page for whatever they like, and if they don't have a purpose for it, they can use it for an overflow of their memory keeping from the previous spread, or they can jump in with some of the extra stationery that I sent along with the journal when I mailed it off back in December, and just have a great time playing with the stationery, and maybe they can add a quote if they want. They can do whatever they like with this one. Also, one of my favorite hacks if you feel like a layout isn't feeling cohesive is just to add a little border that connects things together. So I have two collages here, but they felt like they were just kind of floating in space. So I'm just jumping in with my blue Tombow. I'm using the bullet end this time instead of the brush end, and just drawing a line that goes all the way along the dots along the bottom, up the right side, across the top, and then back down, so that these kind of feel like they are part of each other even though they're on opposite sides of the spread. And Mitsu is helping, my lovely cat. Whenever Mitsu shows up in a video, it's usually because he's hungry. Now we can move on to setting up the weekly spreads for the entirety of April. I like to keep my weeks together, so you know how sometimes you'll have a few days in one month and a few days in the next month, and it can be awkward to work out where you want to put your weekly. I like to have that weekly fall into the month setup that has the most days in that week. Does that make sense? So in this instance, April starts on a Wednesday, which means only 2 of the days fell into March, more of the days fall into April, and so this first weekly will also include the last 2 days of March. This is one of my favorite horizontal weeklies, the way I'm setting this one up, although I have made a little mistake. I'm going to need to tweak it a little bit later on, but ultimately this one will have 3 days on the left page and 4 days on the right page. Currently it's only got 3 because I forgot about Sunday, but I promise you I'll fix that. It's a little bit asymmetrical, but I really like the way this one comes out. It's still quite balanced, even though things are very different from the left page to the right page. Even the planning space is smaller for the 4 days on the right page than on the left, but I always find I'm doing more planning on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday anyway, so this kind of layout works out really well for me. We're going to vary each of our weekly layouts as we go through though, so it'll be kind of like a little tasting platter of weeklies. This is the perfect opportunity to use some of the functional stickers that came with the Swan Lake set from Paper Monogatari, so I'm using the days of the week stickers, and this is where I'm going to realize that I forgot all about Sunday. I know some people like to combine their Saturday and Sunday into a single section and just call it weekend, but I was a wedding photographer for a while and my weekends were when I was working the most, so just in case the person who ended up with this journal has some kind of a job like that, I wanted to make sure that they have full flexibility throughout the weeklies as well as everything else. And right now that means peeling up the stickers I've already placed on the bottom right page so that I can make room to add my Sunday section. Sorry, Sunday. I've been using the number stickers that came with the Swan Lake set for the ones that go from the actual beginning of April onwards, but because these first 2 days, the 30th and 31st, don't have stickers within that set, I will need all of them to get through April. I've just stamped those ones to keep them in line with the rest of the theme before this. Let's move on to weekly number 2. This one is great for people who plan heavily on every day of their weeklies. This one just affords you so much space to add to-do lists and anything else you might need here. I'm just dividing each page into 4 in this kind of cross section, so right through the middle horizontally and right through the middle vertically. I'll be using one of those spaces for decoration, but each of the other ones is going to be for a day of the week, which is perfect because we have 8, we decorate 1, and then we have 7 left over. This is a weekly setup that works really well with a fairly minimalist decoration style, so I like using one of those sections to add my more heavy decoration because then I'm not tempted to put it everywhere else and run out of space for actual planning. Now, if you like things more minimal than me and you like a little bit more negative space, you could leave this here, but I'm going to sprinkle in a few more stickers, particularly where the lines cross and at the bottom of the page, right on top of the dividing lines, because I feel like that doesn't eat into the planning space, but still helps things feel like they are all cohesive. We'll add a few more yet, but I wanted to add my second line highlights as well, just to bring a bit more color to this page and keep it interesting without taking away from our planning space. This next weekly might have turned out to be my favourite of all of the pages in this setup. This one I call my Ruthie Journals layout because I stole it from Ruthie Journals on Instagram. I use it all the time, it's my favourite. So you're basically dividing your page into 6 sections. On the previous spread we divided it into 4 quadrants. This is very much the same concept, except we're going to have 3 rows and 2 columns to a page instead of just 2 rows and 2 columns. From there, you can really decide which of those sections are going to be your planning spaces for each day of the week and which ones will be left for decoration. I typically do the same thing every time though, which is where these pink second line highlights are. Those are our planning spaces, and the extra space left over is going to be where we put some pretty stuff. You can really see the bare bones of this layout with just the headings and the planning space marked out. Let's jump in and add some decoration, but I'm going to do this a bit differently to the way I've done it throughout the rest of the setup. I usually like to layer things, but this time we're kind of going to grid them instead. So I'm going to be placing things with a little bit of space in between each item rather than touching or overlapping, and that's just going to make this spread feel a little bit more spacious, a little bit more calm. In the end, it's going to look kind of like a beautiful floral balletic gallery wall, and I really like that. This is one of those moments where tiny stickers come in so handy. You can use them to fill in little gaps without feeling like you're completely taking over a layout. They just add the tiniest little bit of sparkle or a little bit of interest or texture, and then your spread looks a lot more complete than it did without them. I love it when that happens. Obviously, some of my stickers have ended up touching. That's mostly just based on space constraints here, like the swan on the right page is touching that little tag, but I'm okay with it. I think it still looks pretty good. Now that I've sprinkled my tiny stickers all around, we can move on to our next weekly. This is another horizontal layout, so it's similar to what we did on the first weekly within this theme, but I'm going to have them really symmetrical this time. I'm going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on the left page, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a note section on the right. And because of the way the page is set up, we would have a little bit of extra space left over. If dividing it into 4, it doesn't divide evenly very well. So I'm going to add a little bit of washi at the top and bottom. For a little bit of extra pizzazz and to make sure that this one looks like it fits with the rest of the pages within the theme, I'm going to alternate placing some decorative items in each of these horizontal sections too. So it'll be on the outside of the page and then the inside of the page, just alternating, and I'm going to layer my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of functional stickers over these decorative areas too. I'm so sorry I missed a little bit of this process, so we've just time traveled, but here's the end result for this spread. I think it's spectacular. It's very easy and quick to put together too. This is going to be our last weekly spread for April, and then we can finally get back to the cover spread and tweak it until I really like it. Remember the weekly spread where we just divided it with a cross through the middle of each page and we had lots of planning space? This is a very similar concept, except instead of just drawing the lines to divide it with a cross, we're going to enclose each of those planning spaces in a little box. So we're still dividing the spread into 8 sections, each page into 4. We just have a bit more of a defined area for planning this time. Once again, I'm not drawing in the box for that first top left area because I want to use that for some decoration, and I've deliberately placed the planning boxes a little bit higher on the page so I'd have a bit of space left over down the bottom to add some more decoration. Having some at the top and also at the bottom is going to give your spread a nice feeling of balance. Now, I shot this a while ago, so I actually can't remember if I ran out of the functional stickers for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for this spread, or if I just forgot that I had them, but either way, I'm going to just write my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays on the page this time instead of adding a sticker. Our weeklies are all done, but there's something about this cover spread that's still niggling at me, so let's finesse it a little bit. I'm going to peel up some of my stickers, rearrange things a little bit. I think I was just feeling like the right page was a little bit bigger, a little bit more spread out, had a little bit more negative space to it than the left, so let's see what we can do about that. If you're indecisive like me and you decide you need to peel up some stickers and move them around, I have a bit of a technique recommendation for you. I recommend that you peel your sticker back on as much of an angle against itself as possible. I think you're supposed to do this with painter's tape as well when you're painting a wall, peeling it back so it's almost on the same angle as the wall parallel to it when you peel it back up is going to help it not tear up your page. Different stickers and different tapes are going to behave a little bit differently, but on the whole, I find this really saves my paper a lot of the time. They weren't huge changes, but I'm finally happy with the way this setup looks now, so let's have a flip through from start to finish. As a long-time lover of ballet and someone who still likes to dance pretty often, although I'm not dancing ballet so much these days, I had such a good time putting this theme together. I think it's so delicate and pretty, and I hope that the winner of this journal enjoys using it, and I hope that you got to take some inspiration from it too. If you're also a lover of ballet, I'd love to know, what is your favorite ballet? Let me know in the comments down below. I think my favorite ballet is Giselle. It's very, very sad, but it's also so beautiful. I love Tchaikovsky's music though, so Swan Lake is definitely a good time. But I think if I had to pick a favorite Tchaikovsky, I'd have to go with The Nutcracker for sure. Thank you so much for planning with me. Don't forget to enter my giveaway with Tiefossi if you'd like to win a Tiefossi notebook for yourself. This is actually not my first ballet theme in a mystery journal. I did one in the very first one ever, so here's a link to that in case you want some alternative ballet inspiration. But if it's alternative April inspiration you're after, here's one of those for you too.